that there's more than one America. So like I didn't realize I was a black man in America because I grew up in an all black neighborhood. And when I was in college in Boston, there's parties everywhere. I went to this one party and I think I was 21 at the time. So everyone else is under 21 and they're all drinking. So
Mhm.
my biggest concern about that is if we get raided, it could look like I bought everyone alcohol. Like that could be
Mm.
something that falls on my because I've seen that happen before. So I'm like, all right, cool. You know what? I'll stop worrying about it. Just chill. And this girl goes, hey, do you like to party? And I'm like, yeah, I love to party. I'm a party animal. So she brings me in the back, and they're doing cocaine. I did not
Uh-uh.
know that was the code for cocaine. Well, yeah. So if anyone that doesn't know that, that's apparently the code for it. So I'm like, oh no, this is not my party at all. Sorry. So as I'm leaving, I hear the cops pound on the front door, and I'm just sweating bullets now because now here I am in this place that has illicit drugs and underage drinking, and me and my friend are the only two black guys. So I'm like, oh, this is not a good situation. So the girl that brought me in there, she comes out, she's got it
No, no,
on her face, and she runs
no.
to the door and starts cursing at the cops. You don't have a warrant. You can't come in this house. And so me and my friend just turned and put our hands on the wall immediately, like, oh, it's a wrap. Like we all going down. I don't want to get shot. So we literally are pressed up against the wall, and the cops come in, and one of them taps me and says, "Bro, you can put your hands down. We're not gonna arrest anyone." And I'm like, what do you mean you're not gonna arrest us? You guys arrest us for having too loud music sometimes. He says, if we arrested person from each party that we broke up, there would not be a place to put everybody. Not enough cells to hold all the people. So he said, all we care about is that you keep the noise down and we'll be on our way. And then they left and then they turned the music back up and the party kept going the way it was. And I was floored because I now knew that there's two different sets of rules depending on who you are. I don't know, that was a really eye opening time for me. It was really hard to go back to New York and then be with my friends and have the cops shut us down just for starting the party. We didn't have the music on yet.
Wow. It just kind of leaves me speechless, quite frankly. I can't help but picture, a little bit of white on the side of the face.
And yelling at the cop at the same time while she has illegal drugs on her face. I could not believe it, the entitlement and the expectation that there was nothing bad going to happen to her.
Right.
So I really got in that moment that being black in America is slightly different.
That's one of those stories that makes it clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.